Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be covering the men's event at the 2024 European Championships. And while I don't think that this event is the most extreme menning that we have seen by any stretch of the imagination, it definitely was a lot less straightforward than what we've seen in our last few competitions and the last few recaps that I have done. So let's start at the top. Winner here was the favorite, and that was Adam Seohimfa of France, winning his second European title. And I have to say, if you would have told me in the Olympic season that a French man was going to win two Europeans, I would not have picked Adam Seohimfa by any stretch of the imagination. Just the transformation that he has made and the improvements that he has made since that 2021-22 season is unbelievable. Now, granted, the best men skaters in the world haven't been in Europe for some time. They've largely been in the US and in Asia, but I think that this is the best male skater to come out of Europe in some time. And even like here, when he hasn't really been at his best, he's still been far and away the best competitor at the competition. So both of his programs here, seeing them again for the, I don't know, seventh or eighth time of this season, I still really like both of his programs last year better than the combination of these two programs. I think that he does them well. I don't know if it's just me and I just don't connect to the programs as well as I did last season. He obviously is still extremely invested in them. And I also wonder too, if when you start to increase the technical content of your programs, I think it is difficult to still bring that same level of artistry to your programs. And not that, again, these aren't great, well-designed, choreographed programs. They just don't move me like the ones that he did last year. But even so, in the short program, it was not perfect. He put his hand down on his quadlets. The commentator, Chris, said that he was supposed to do his combo there, but he's been doing that jump solo all season, and he's been doing that quad toe, triple toe as his combo all season. So I don't know if he made a mistake there or if he had planned to do a different combination and do a quadlets triple toe combination here for the first time all season. I found that a little bit hard to swallow that he would try that at this competition. But even so, if that was the plan, it didn't happen, and he had the same content that he's had all season. And so, luckily for him, the triple axel went well. He only got a double toe off on his quad toe intended to be triple toe combo. And so he still got a 94 though. He's getting a lot of help. Maybe help's not the right word. A lot of benefit of the doubt from the judges. So we really haven't seen him at his best in the short program in the last two or three competitions, and he's still been getting pretty decent scores. Now, obviously at Worlds, that's probably not going to cut it. It's exactly what happened to him at Grand Prix Final. He had a bigger mistake there, really took him out of the competition, so he's definitely going to want to clean that up. But here it was, just a hand down. It's not as costly as a fall, but that combined with only getting the double toe off could really be the difference between him making the podium and not making the podium at Worlds. In his long program, he really didn't get his feet under him, I felt like, until like his fourth quad. That was his best one. And I feel like there was another performance of his this season that I felt like was the same case, where his last quad that he did was actually the best quad that he did. The quadlets, he didn't put his hand down here, but he was still pretty pitch forward. He fell actually on that first quad toe that he did. I have to say, he does a really good job staying calm in the midst of these mistakes that he makes in either program. That next jump might be just textbook. And so he doesn't panic like we've seen other skaters do, even in this competition. And he also turned out on his quad sow. So he definitely was not as sharp as he has been. And then he decided to put a backflip in his choreo sequence, which was a very strange choice because that is a 2-point deduction. So obviously he felt like he did not need it. And his coach, Benoit, said after the event that he did not know that he was going to do that. So I thought it was a very strange choice. I mean, it's one thing to do it at Japan Open, which isn't, like that big of a competition. It's like It's not an ISU championship. Then to throw it in here, I thought was borderline cocky, honestly. I mean, when Surya Bona Lee did it at the Olympics, it was like totally done as a protest, and I get it. But here, the rationale, don't quite understand, but it didn't hurt him in the grand scheme of things. He still won going away. I've also decided that I don't really like his outfit in the free skate. Like I don't know. It's just kind of there. Like I felt like I was looking at it. I'm like, are those flowers? It's like, no, there's like swirly colors. Like, I don't know. It's fine. I just miss his last year's programs. Okay, moving on. So number 2 is Alexander Salevko of Estonia, and he is the first Estonian medal skater to ever medal at Europeans. So that is absolutely huge. He had the distinction of being third in both segments of the competition, but actually finishing second overall. He has been working with Rafael Arturian, and it seems like it's really helped his jumps. So let's talk about the short program, which is To the Mummy's Curse. I know he does the Egyptian arms, and everybody doesn't love the Egyptian arms. I'm usually not. Uh, that kind of thing doesn't usually offend me, but I know some people don't like it. I've seen this program a few times this season, and I've liked it every single time that I've seen it. I think he's really, in this performance anyway, was giving a lot into his step sequence, and I feel like in general, like men are more creative with their step sequences. They seem to give a lot more energy, and it seems to match the rest of their program so much better than the women do. I feel like most of the women's step sequences are just there. They're checking all the boxes, they're going through the motions. It's not really like a moment. And I feel like in a lot of the men's programs, it is a moment, and it is in this sense as well. And then he got a personal best 90.05. So getting into the 90s is a big, big deal for a lot of these skaters. It was 6.5 points higher than his previous personal best, which he got just a month ago at Golden Spin. And then in his long program, it's like this really interesting contrast because the first part is just like so dramatic, and then the middle part is a little bit softer, and then the end goes back to the drama. And I love that he can just really flip that switch between all of those different tempo changes, and he is just totally committed to the program. He is a fantastic spinner. I love him. I mean, his brother is a good spinner as well too, but I just feel like he's got that whole package. Now, obviously, he just does one quad in the free skate. He had planned to do two, but opted to do a triple flip in place of the other quad, which obviously was fine. That other quad wasn't going to give him the win. So here getting a silver medal and going out and just skating clean was definitely the smart choice. He did leave some points on the table, even with that decision. Later in his program, what was planned to be a triple axel triple toe was just a double axel double toe. So he has the potential to score even better than what he scored here. And he had by far and away the best reaction in the kiss and cry. And his coaches, too, were just so excited for him. And you just love those moments. Like, right, those are the moments that I enjoy more than anything at these types of championships, are those people that are so excited about over a personal best or first time getting a medal and those types of milestones. All right. In third place here was Matteo Rizzo of Italy, and he was not at Italian Nationals because of a hip injury. And he said here that the doctors advised him to either undergo surgery or to retire. And so he says that he's going to get the surgery for his hip after Europeans, which sounds like to me that he's not going to be at Worlds, which means that this competition that we've been having all season as who's going to be that second Italian man looks like they're both going to go. If this is the case, if he's not going to push the surgery back until after Worlds, if he's going to go ahead and get it done now, which it sounds like he needs to because he made multiple comments that he really shouldn't be here. In fact, he wasn't able to do like his quad loop here because of the hip injury. And so I don't know if he needs a hip replacement or exactly what the deal is. He didn't say exactly what it was. I feel like if it was a torn labrum or something like that, the recovery is not nearly as long as what his recovery is going to be. So he's going to be off the ice for 5 full months and no jumps for 6 or 7 months. Okay, maybe it's not a hip replacement because I don't think I know of any don't know any skaters who have had a hip replacement while in their amateur careers. I mean, I believe maybe Tara Lipinski got one like, years after she retired. But anyway, so looks like a pretty lengthy recovery for Mateo, and we certainly wish him well. And, he's just like the comeback kid because he came out in the short program with a brand new short program. So he's been doing a totally different short program this season. And he came in and did a short program to Two Men in Love, which is a free skate that he did a couple of years ago that I personally really loved. But I was confused as to what was wrong with his previous one, if it was related to the injury, if they went back to a different program or reworked it to be helpful for his hip. I wondered about that. It was just sort of an interesting choice there. And the big problem for him in his short program was he popped his quad toe. And so pop that down to a double, no points for that element. And that cost him placements, and he ended up 6th overall. So not where he wanted to be, but not uncommon for Mateo. I mean, this is kind of what he does. He has a so-so short program, and he's got to come back in the free skate, which is exactly what he did. You could see him in this free skate just kind of really engaging with the judges. I feel like this music, maybe more so than the Bruno Mars last season, just really emphasizes this like nice glide that he has. He kind of reminds me of Brandon Frazier in that when Brandon would skate with Alexa, especially, it just always looked like it was just so easy and smooth, like minimal effort that it took, And I feel very much that same way in this program with Mateo. The only mar in this entire program was his final jump, which was a triple axel, and he fell on it. He landed the first one in combination perfectly fine, and that last one just fell, but everything else was really super strong, and it was enough for him to be second in the free skate and ultimately move up to the podium. So he podiums for the second year in a row, and we'll see what happens with him going forward with his injury. In 4th place here was another Italian man, so great showing for Italy. They had 3 people in the top 10, so this was Gabriele Frangipani. And when this was going on, I didn't really know that Mateo was going to be bowing out to get surgery, and so I was like, okay, Frangipani definitely is going to get this spot now, right? Because like I've been saying all season, it's just been like this Frangipani point. Nope, now it's Nicolai Minima. Just like every single competition, when you think that one, maybe they finally have done enough, like they're going to be the choice for Italy. The next competition, they're a complete bust, and the other one does well. I mean, it's just been like this all season. And so, like, Frangipani wins Nepola, and then Nicolai Minima, after a poor showing, comes back and wins Budapest Trophy, and Frangipani is 10th. And then in the Grand Prix, it seemed like it was the same way. And then Mimola wins Italian Nationals, and then Frangipani is 4th here. It's like, okay, definitely Frangipani, right? But now it looks like they're both going to go. But even so, he was 4th here, which was a fantastic result for him. And again, there's still points left on the table. Like, he has the goods to medal at Europeans if he can get all of the pieces together. His short program is my favorite of the 2 programs that he has. In fact, I just went ahead and downloaded the song Keeping Me Alive by Jonathan Roy. It's just like a really catchy song. I really like it. The choreography is really great. This is a Benoit choreographed piece. He came out, did a really good quad toe, triple toe. He ends up tripling his quad salchow into a triple, which, obviously you're losing, about 4 points, 5 points of base value, but it's not the same as popping it to a double where you don't get credit for it at all. It's like he couldn't quite make up his mind what he wanted to do, and he sort of also kind of dropped his free leg, so even the triple salchow wasn't really clean. His triple axel was good. Thought his step sequence was a little bit frantic, but I feel like he's bringing like the frantic energy a lot of the time. And then in his long program, I feel like it was a good performance for him, for sure. One of his better ones. It lacks, to me, some polish, some emotional investment, and he looks like someone who has like a personality, and I just don't feel like that this program is really doing anything in that department. I feel like I enjoyed him the most at Nebula Trophy. Like he just seemed to have a little bit more spark, a little bit more emotion in that performance as compared to this one. And I would love to see them pick a piece of music, pick some choreography that really brings out his personality next season. In fifth place here was Lucas Bridgkey of Switzerland, and he had such a strong short program. He was only behind Adam and Dennis and Mateo and PCS, who are, are skaters who have great reputations of being really strong in that department. So I thought that was huge for him. I love the music choices. I'm in the mood for love. Then he does a costume change when Superstition comes on. So strong. I mean, you could have probably made an argument that he could have been in first after the short program, just based on the fact that he was clean and Adam wasn't. Going into the long program, Lucas has had such a strong season. He's been so solid all season. I mean, his best score all season wasn't even enough to get on the podium because he was at Grand Prix France with Adam and Elia scoring over 300 points and Yuma Kageyama. He got a bronze medal at his next Grand Prix, which was the first medal on the Grand Prix that we've seen from a Swiss skater since Stefan Lambiel. So just so great. And he was so good in the short program. And for whatever reason, like Europeans doesn't use what we see like at Worlds and the Grand Prix, where they just go in reverse order. They're actually drawing. So instead of Lucas going second to last and Adam going last, Lucas was actually last. And I definitely know that for skaters who aren't used to going last, that can sometimes be a challenge for them to stay warm, to sort of stay in the zone. I also think he probably comes on hearing Adam's score, which is higher than his personal best, but maybe hearing those 3 points of deductions, not knowing that 2 of those were for a backflip. I don't know if he just got in his head and thought, well, maybe I could win this whole thing or what. But this program just broke my heart because I just knew that he was going to nail it like he's been nailing it all season. And he fell on his quad toe right off the top. He had a second one right after that he popped into a double, and then he stepped out of his triple axel. And just those first 3 errors just really kind of took him out. I mean, he had a good lead on Mateo, but by the time his feet kind of got under him, it was just too late. All of his big jumps are at the top. I just think there were not enough points left for him to really make up for those mistakes that he made at the beginning. He ended up 10th in the free skate and dropped down to 5th, which just sucked. Now, granted, I'm happy for all of the medalists that were in the top 3. I just felt so bad for Lucas because he's had such a fantastic season and he's just had some really fantastic performances. And I was just hoping that we would get another one out of him here. He said after the event that, there's not much to say. Something like this had to happen at some point. Mistakes happen. But I will not look back now. It was a bit hard to keep the focus for so long skating last, but nerves weren't really the problem. But you learn from mistakes. And he said he's now looking forward to now skate at Art on Ice, which is what he'll be going to next, which is that big, huge show that they have in Europe that several of the U.S. skaters go to as well, and Luna Hendricks and Papadakis and Cizeron and all of that. And I'm sure he's going to be great because I think I mentioned in an earlier episode during the Grand Prix, I think he would make such a great show skater because he just has that performance quality. All right, in 6th place here was Denis Vasilev of Latvia. In his short program, I felt like I couldn't even really enjoy it because I'm just so annoyed about this quest for this Quetzalcoatl, this unattainable quest, in my opinion. So his best short program was done at the 2022 Worlds. He got a 90.95, and he only did triples. So his best short program this season was at Nepala, where his Quetzalcoatl actually got a full downgrade to a triple. So again, I've been saying this since the very first challenger he was in this season, that this has been a terrible strategy for him. He needs to go out and be Jason Brown. Like, go out and be Jason Brown better than Jason Brown can be himself. Like, you have all of the goods. Focus on those triples you can get 90 points without a quad. Like, he doesn't need it. And if he had a consistent quad, I'd have zero issue with it. But it's not. It's not there. And it's almost a bigger distraction at this point to even have it in there. And then in the long program, it's like he's obsessed with the quad sal, because first he goes out and just falls on it. So then he goes and does another one, 2-foots it, it's under rotated, he doesn't put it in a combo. So he ends up with a 4.99 on his first jumping pass and a 3.1 on his second. And you know what would get more points than that? 2 clean triple jumps. You know what else is a problem in this program? He only got 2 combos off. So again, you're leaving points on the table, not putting a third combo in there. And I just think it's ridiculous. Like, and Jason Brown did it too. Like, he chased a quad toe, quad sal curl for many years. He never tried it in the short program that I can remember, thank goodness. But it's just like, dude, just stop. Just stop, because it's hindering the performance. Because while I love the second half of his long program, the first half is just like, it starts off with those mistakes, and then you kind of got to get back into it, and it, for me, really ruins his short program, because that is shorter and it needs to be clean. And so, I'm just going to continue to beat this drum because I just don't get it. I don't get it. But even so, even with all of those issues, this was actually his best free skate of the season, which kind of shows you the free skates that he's had all season have been rough. I really love, like, the flying sit spin that he does right in the middle. So much speed. It's great. In fact, that whole middle section is just really, really strong. And the only issue with the bottom half, the second half of that program, was that he fell out of his triple lutz. But I would love to see it just once without the quads and just really try to emphasize on just being clean. All right. 7th place was Nika Agazzi of Georgia. And frankly, he is better than what he did here. I feel like all season we have seen bits and pieces of what he could be. He'll, mess up on his quad sal in his short program, land his quad toe. In the long program, he'll fall on his quad toe, but then land his quad sal. He can never seem to put it all together in one performance, let alone in an entire competition in 2 different performances. And this was really no exception. In the short program, the quad sal was just a disaster. Didn't get it all the way around, poorly landed. He only got a double toe off after his quad toe. Of his 2 programs, I don't know which I prefer, like the Ave Maria in the short program or the Moulin Rouge in the long program. I think neither one are like the best material. Of course, he's working with a coaching team that's not known for putting out great material, but I might go with the Ave Maria. I feel like might be a little bit better than the Moulin Rouge, just because I kind of agree with Tara, like what she said on the NBC feed. It's just like, we've seen so many Moulin Rouge programs and there's nothing particularly special about it. And I can't really put my finger on what style I think would be good for him. Like, I don't think he's a balletic kind of skater. I don't feel like these styles really work for him. I don't know. It's a good question. Like, what would Shaylin Bourne do with Nika Agazzi? Maybe like a music from like a soundtrack, not Moulin Rouge. Like, what would he do doing like Batman? I don't know. That probably wouldn't work either. Like a Joker program, which I think we all got kind of sick of those. But maybe he could bring out some personality, or maybe he should just do like Rachmaninoff. I don't know. It's just, these leave a lot to be desired. And in his long program, I mean, he had, the quad toe didn't work for him this time, but he got the quad sal cow, and Tara said she would give it higher GOE, and I was like, did you see the landing on the triple toe after that quad sal cow? Like, no. I just feel like, in my opinion, the best programs will put some effort into the choreography just right off the bat to sort of set the tone for the program. And I don't really feel like there's any effort given to the choreography until there's probably 2 minutes in. And, just to me in general, with with this performance, I just felt like everything seemed rush. A lot of the jumps just didn't really have control, and I think the issue with a lot of these Tango Roxanne pieces is that it's a really great piece of music, but the piece of music is like 5 minutes long. And so people end up cutting bits and pieces of it. And especially in a performance like this, where he's only using it for the second half, it's like a lot of times the cuts are usually terrible, really. And so anyway, I don't know. It didn't end well either. I felt like the last spin just looked like it took a lot of effort. And I mean, it all full disclosure, it's hard to root for Mika Agazzi anyway because of his coaching team. But I'm trying to be neutral. And I'm like, I can see where if he could get his jumps together, he could be a lot better. And I feel like if they could figure out a style that worked for him, he could potentially be a contender. But we're not getting it right now. All right, on to some of the more random parts of the top 10. In 8th place was Vladimir Samolov of Poland. He is Russian, born in Russia, but skating for Poland, kind of like Katja Kurakova. He was definitely probably the biggest example of the men. So he was 16th in the short program and 5th in the free skate to finish 8th overall. He also probably had some of the most random music. So in his short program, he is skating to Fatboy Slim, which, hey, I am here for it. I will take that over. I think is it Staratzen that's doing the Backstreet Boys, which is just so random. But Fatboy Slim, I'm kind of here for it. He kind of starts with the head bobbing. His costume is super interesting. He's got like a t-shirt with like writing on it. I think it says Rockefeller Shank. I'm not really sure. Never got a close-up enough. There's like a panel on there, and then there's some fringe on the front. And there's fringe on a sleeve, and it's a lot going on for a fairly simple black and white look. He has a huge triple toe. I definitely like the second half better when the Rockefeller Shank kicks in. I thought that was more fun. I wouldn't call him like a great dancer by any stretch of the imagination, but he is just out there having the time of his life. He ends with a cartwheel and super fun. His long program looked like it was going to be a disaster because he came out and popped that quad Lutz into a single. And after that, he just proceeded to skate lights out. I mean, the only negative thing I'll say is I thought maybe, one of his spins was a little bit slow. But, in general, he's got some really nice flexibility. I mean, he had a quad Salchow in his second half. Overall, his long program was 19 points above his personal best. And, the last 2 years he's been at Worlds and he hasn't been able to make the free skate. And so in 8th place here was a big improvement over 17th place last year. And so if he could skate like this in his short program, he could make the cut at Worlds. And I'm sure that's what he's going to be going for when he shows up again there this season. In 9th place was Georgy Reshchenko of the Czech Republic, and he went very early on. He was just the third to go, and he stayed in the lead for quite some time. It was 13th in the short, but actually moved up because he was 8th in the free to finish 9th overall. So in his short program, he missed his quad toe combo, but he was able to add a triple toe onto his triple Lutz later on. And I just thought that is showing good training because you see so many times when people miss their combo, they're only able to get a double off in the next jump that they try to do the combo on, or they try to go for a triple and they fall on it because they just don't have that training. And so he, to me, seemed like somebody who could problem solve. And so I really appreciated that. I thought in general he had, kind of nice musicality. He's another one that ends like right in front of the judges. And then his long program was to, I guess this is a movie soundtrack, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Interesting. Never heard of it before, which I always welcome. I just want his face to match what his body is doing. I feel like the choreography is there. The body movement is there. He just doesn't quite know how to express it. He was nailing everything. 2 quads, and then he fell on a second to last jumping pass, which was a Lutz, and then had a single axle in that last combo. But otherwise, I thought it was really pretty strong. I want him to work on the face. I feel like he has one expression when he's trying to emote, and it just like is that look of pain. And so maybe like an acting coach or something like that to sort of bring out some of that a little bit more. He is somebody else that, big improvement over last year. 26th last year at Europeans, didn't make the cut, and 34th at Worlds. And again, you skate like you skated at this competition, you will make the cut at Worlds this year. And 10th place was Nicola Mimola of Italy, the third Italian man in the top 10. Really fantastic showing for Italian men here. He won Italian nationals when Matteo withdrew due to his injury. He did beat Frangipani by about 8 points or so. And him and Frangipani actually went right back to back in the short. And he just came in off the bat, had a hard fall on that quad lutz. And I saw some effort to try to emote in his short program, which I think was part of the problem. It shouldn't look like effort. He also got an undercall on his triple axel, and so not his best short program. But Nicola he's just all over the place. And a lot of it really sort of rides on that quad lutz. It's like if the quad lutz is working that day, great. And if it's not, the rest of the program seems to go the way of. And so you go to the long program, that first quad lutz off the bat was great. The second one, he kind of rushed. He only did a triple, and then he fell. I feel like when his jumps are on, he's really great. I feel like there's places he can definitely improve. Like, he does not use the whole ice. You can just sort of see that he never really takes up a lot of space in the ice and doesn't use it all around. That's definitely something that he could work on. I also feel like at times it doesn't feel like he knows how to use his body. And we know he's tall, he's got those long limbs, and sometimes it can be a challenge, but he's got the jumping part down. Now it's just a matter of trying to use his body to his advantage in the choreography. I will definitely be glad when he gets new material because he's been using both of these programs for 2 years. And I'm just as confused about the Samson and Delilah exogenesis combination now as I was the first time I saw it. All right. So that completes the top 10. A lot of really good skates in there. I'm going to mention a couple notables of those who did not make the free skate. And the first one was Mikhail Salivko, who is Alexander's brother. And they oftentimes in the season, when they have skated at the same competition, have really been just like right there, right behind each other. I think I'm thinking of Nepola or Lombardi, like one of those challengers. However, here, with Alexander watching in the stands, because Mikhail was skating much later, he had a rough short program. He fell on his opening quad toe. He did a triple lutz, intended to be triple toe. He fell out of the triple lutz, so you put a step between that and the double toe that he tacked on. And if you put a step in between there, you get no credit for that double toe. So it was a very, very costly error. Then he fell on a triple axel, and it's like he landed it just kind of like he slipped out of the landing. And so he ended up actually being 5 points away from qualifying, and out of a field of 32, he was 30. And so that was really rough. And Alexander looked super, super sad in the stands watching his brother. Of course, his brother looked even more sad, of course. Super disappointing, I know, for him. And then in 31st place, we got to have a quick conversation here about Kevin Amos, because this is now the third competition in a row where he has just completely fallen apart. So right as he comes on, Chris, the commentator, says, and I quote, "Always a joy, but you're never sure what's going to happen. Going to be an exciting 2 minutes," referring to Kevin. So he starts right off the bat with a single flip. No real effort that I could see trying to do a triple there. He did attempt the triple axel and fell. And then he did a triple lutz, like single loop combination, which he got no credit for the single loop because it's got to be at least a double. And then at that point, the commentator said, he's given up. He's throwing it all away. I did feel like he put some effort into the step sequence. He lost his last spin completely. And he was 31st out of 32 people. The worst technical score of the entire event. Somehow he was 6th in PCS, which I disagree. I just think if you don't put more effort than that into it, I don't think that you should be 6th in PCS. It's rough. I talked about, what happened at Grand Prix Final in that episode. At Nationals, he got 94 points in his free skate. So you're talking about a man getting less than 100 points in a free skate. You've got men out there, granted, they're fantastic, but his countryman, Adam, has gotten 200 points in his free skate, and Adam couldn't manage half of that. at nationals. I saw the video of it and it was awful. He had 3 falls, including a fall and a spin, an axel, not a single axel, just an axel, which is worth no points, by the way. It was a disaster. And so there was a lot of talk after that showing that between that and Grand Prix final that was enough alone to not send him to Europeans. But Les, he showed up and didn't put more effort into it than that. And so again, after Grand Prix final, he didn't talk to the press. Everybody's like, is he injured? The fact that he's done nationals and now Europeans after this, I think it was easy to come to the conclusion that no, he probably wasn't injured. And then 2 days ago, he posted an Instagram post, and this is what it said. It's even more important to speak out today. Living with the feeling of never living up to all of my expectations, of never being good enough, of never doing enough, the fear of failing and dreaming too big, learning to listen to yourself and give yourself the time you need to heal your wounds. I don't want to forget these scars. I want to be able to look at them without feeling ashamed, to grow, to surpass myself, to love, to move forward. That's what sport has taught me since I was very young. And I sometimes tend to forget it as time goes by. To be able to look back, to cherish what I've achieved, appreciate the present moment, and look to the future. It's not the end of something, but simply the beginning of something even more beautiful. I don't want to be ashamed of being myself ever again. So there wasn't anything definitive in there. I think we were all looking at trying to read between the lines. Okay, is he withdrawing from Worlds? Is he taking a break? Not really sure exactly how to interpret that. He got tons and tons of love from other skaters from that post. Jason Brown, Luna Hendricks, Lucia Demogé, Matteo Rizzo, tons of skaters with, kind words, even like Nika Agatse. And then he posted on that same comment thread, my heart today is to put my mental health back at the center so I can shine as an athlete and live as a human. I wanted to thank a lot of people after this championship for all the love I received in live voice or by message. Thanks to all my entourage, supporters, skaters, friends, coaches, federal and international staff, and much more for the support you have given me. Kev. P.S. These championships are not a reflection of my work and the values I wish to convey through my skating. So, a lot there to sort of unpack, and I think that there's definitely been some rumblings about some challenges with his mental health. Is there some issues from his coaching team, John Zimmerman, Sylvia Fontana, who were heavily involved with the Morgan Tsipras debacle? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. Nothing has been formally announced as of me recording this that he's not going to be at Worlds, but I think based upon those statements, I certainly would not expect him to be at Worlds. And even if he didn't withdraw himself, if I'm Team France, I'm not sending him to Worlds based upon those last 3 performances. And I don't know what happened. I mean, his first 2 Grand Prix were good, obviously, because they were enough to qualify for the Grand Prix final. I mean, he got a silver and a bronze, and I don't know what happened between his last Grand Prix and Grand Prix final, but it's just been a real challenge for him, and I hope that he takes the time off that he needs to address some of these things, and whether he comes back or not, I certainly wish him well. And I'm just going to fondly remember that Bolero performance at Skate America this season as one of the best performances that we have seen in men's skating this year. All right. So my Pam Chico award for this event, I'm actually going to give a double award. One to Alexander Selevko for his short program and the other for Lucas Bridgkey for his short program also. They were behind Adam, both of them over 90 points, and both just really, really fantastic. If I'm going to go back and look at 2 programs from this event, it's going to be those 2 programs. So, all right. So that completes my coverage from Europeans. Overall, such a fantastic event, especially the contrast between this and Canadians. It was just so much brighter, and they had the graphics with the flags, taking up, the whole skating rink right before the skaters went on, and, the crowd and everything. It was just this spot on. really enjoyed the championship, and we'll see how Four Continents fares in just a couple of weeks. But in between then and now, of course, is U.S. Nationals coming up. So definitely be looking out in your podcatcher feed for my Nationals previews. Definitely looking forward to recording some of those. And in the meantime, you can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. You can shoot me a line via email at thecuttingedgepod@gmail.com. It has been snowy and cold as I record these in Nashville. I hope wherever you are staying warm.
Oh,